Welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you a step-by-step easiest method to achieve this trendy neckline bubu. No pattern drafting, no paper involved, a very simple step-by-step method. Watch to the end. Lena Fashion Hub. It's Lena Fashion Hub. So I'll be making use of two different Ankara prints. That red one is what I'm using for the neckline, and of course my sewing material, the ruler and the scissors and my tape. Okay, so I started off folding my material into 4. I folded it into 2 and folded it into 2 again. Then for the bubu sleeve length, I'll be using 18 inches because I'm still going to join the red Ankara print. So from the edge, I came down by 2 inch for my slope. Then from that 2 inch point, I took 13 inches for my sleeve opening. If you don't want your sleeve opening to be wide, you can go ahead and make use of 11 inches. And if you want it very, very wide, you can make use of 15 inches. So for the neckline, I'm using 4 by 1.5 for the back and 4 by 7 inches for the front. Sorry, for the back, I'm using 4 by 1. Yes, 4 by 1. Then for the front, I'm using 4 by 8 inches. The front part is going to be it's going to have that V neckline design, which is in front. Okay, then I cuffed my neckline, of course. Then at the 7 inches, I came in by 0.5 inch. At that 0.5 inch point, I'm going to connect it all the way to my neck width. Okay, take note of that. I came in 0.5 inch at my neck depth, then I connected it to my neck width. Then for the shoulder slope, I just went ahead to connect the shoulder slope to my neckline. Okay, then from that point, we are going to, because this bubu have a little cuff by the side, it has a little cow cuff by the side. So to take the cow cuff, I'm marking my hip measurement. Okay, the depth of where I'm going to take the cow cuff. The depth of where I took the cow cuff is at 34. I used the 24 inches. So at 34 inches, I came in by my hip measurement plus 7 inches. I practically used all the fabrics there. Then at the sleeve length, I just came in by 1.5, then connected with a gentle cuff to the cow neck design parts. Then from at the tip of the bubu, I used, sorry, that part was not showing. So from the tip, I came up by 10 inches. Then at that 10 inches point, I marked my hip divide by 4 plus 5 inches. My hip divide by 4 plus 5 inches. Then from there, I now connected it to the cuff, forming that gentle cow cuff at the side of the bubu. If you can see, it wants to look like a hip design. Okay, then the full length I use for this bubu, yeah, I mark my hip plus 5 inches. That's what I'm showing. Then I mark a straight line. Then that part too, I mark the chalk. That is where my side slit is going to be. This bubu is going to have a side slit. Then for the length of the bubu, I use the whole 45 Ankara length. So now we cut. I'm just cutting through. I had to go down and cut following the cuff, right, for the sleeve. Then remember, the sleeve, we are still adding something to the sleeve, so that's why the sleeve is tiny. We are going to add something to the sleeve. Then at this point, I marked that my hip point. At the hip, from that hip line, I came up by 3.5 inch and went down by 5 inches. I came up by 3 inches and went down by 5 inch. That will be my pocket opening. So I'm just going to go ahead and notch that 2 points so that by the time I'm adding my pockets, I will not be confused on where to add the pocket. So just go ahead and note your pocket point. To also know your pocket point, you can also place your tape at the shoulder point and trace your half length. Okay, so I separated the back, it's on the fold of 4. I separated the back so that I can cut the front neckline gently. So I first of all went in by the 0.5. Then after that, I now cut through the neckline. Okay, so by the time I'm done cutting the neckline, you guys are going to see how that looks like. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You see, it has a little box in front. So I had already went ahead to cut the patch fabric because we are not using up to half yard of the patch material. So this is in a square form of 19 inches all around. This is a square form. So I just placed it. This is 19 inches, 19 inches. So I just placed it in front. And how will you know that this is at the center? You measure the shoulder region. So whatever the shoulder region gives you at one end is what it should give you at the other end. Because if it's not like that, that means it will be shifting towards one side, except that is the style you want to place it. So I went ahead to use my pins to hold down this fabric in place so that it won't shift to another direction. So after holding it down, you have to do this gently, right? After holding it down, I'll just flip this cloth to the other side. The second way to know the center part, you can decide to fold the material into 2 and notch the center, right? Then fold the Ankara into 2 and iron the center. That's the second way to know the center. Or you can do like me. You can make sure the 2 shoulder parts are the same. The 2 shoulder are the same. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and confirm what I have on both shoulders. Okay, so I have about 5 inches on both shoulders. So I'll just go ahead and cut the same neckline for the main base of the cloth. So the main base of the cloth, I'll just trace out the same neckline. To me, this is the easiest method to go about this instead of ironing, because ironing would take more time than just doing this, right? But anything that works for you. Okay, so I flip this to the right side of the cloth. Gently flip it. Please try not to be too fast. So this is what we have. This is the point where we mark the exact neck design that we have. The neck design that we have, one part is not going into the shoulder. So that part that is not going to the shoulder, I'll just come from that V, that point that is squared, that neckline point that is squared that I just chalk. From that point, just come up by 0.5 inch. Then draw a straight line from that point, okay? So you can decide to use your ruler for this so that it can give you a very straight line, right? So draw a straight line and then cut through. You just cut out that point because that will not be needed anymore. So after cutting out that exact point, we'll go ahead and fold every single part of this bubu. Gently. Use your iron. This is the part you use your iron. You fold in every single part with 0.5 inch. Now, there are some other bubu that has a design too by the side. It's not boxed. So before you do this, you can also impute the designs by the side if you don't want it to be boxed like this. I'm also going to post another video tutorial of a bubu that you can easily sell, and that one will have the box design. So if that's what you want to learn too, you can also watch that video. Okay, so this is the part that after ironing that, you go ahead and join your shoulder after ironing. So after ironing, I join my shoulder and I top stitch on it. So immediately after ironing, you can top stitch on every other part except that part that I am touching. That's the part that you folded in as well. Don't iron that part. Don't sew that part. So I went ahead to sew everywhere except that part. Okay, so for the sleeve, I'll just measure from the beginning of the sleeve to the edge, and I'll cut a fabric on fold. So measure from the beginning of the sleeves to the edge. So I'm using 2.5 inch as the width of my fabric. So I just folded the fabric in on fold, 2.5 inch, and with the exact length of the sleeve. So I'll just go ahead and place it gently on the sleeve like that, and sew. I'll join both of them with 0.5 inch. So you do the same thing to the other sleeve. Then for the neckline, to complete the neckline design, you see I came down by 2 inches before I start measuring the neckline. Why? Because you just need a lot of excess not to go short of fabric when you are joining that point. If the fabric is too much, no problem. When you are done, you can just easily trim it off. Okay, so after measuring whatever it gives me, you use the same thing and cut your fabric on fold, right? You add 3 inches on both sides. That is what I did. So I also cut my fabric on fold. You can iron a stay on it if you want to. Okay, so after cutting the fabric on fold, I place it to the neckline and join it by 1/2 inch. So at that very point, I just came down by, at that very point that the box neckline started, that is where I started joining my fabric with 0.5 inch. I just make sure I came down a little bit by 1/2 inches, then I just joined it all the way round. Okay, then to stuff in the fabric, I arranged it properly. You stuff in one neck at a time, right? After putting that neck, you put the other one on top of it as though you are overlapping each other, just like that. Voila, you have your neckline, right? You don't need to do pattern drafting for this. Okay, so when I was done, I arranged that upper part of the neckline. I told us not to sew down. I arrange it down properly. Now you are going to go ahead and flip the neckline to the wrong side first. After arranging this, please use your iron. You can even add your hemming gum in between. After ironing, this is what you are going to have. You are going to have a part of the back that is having a line, right? So after sewing, you notch on the 2 edges, that square, you notch on the 2 edges and iron. When you iron, you are going to have this line at the back. Top stitch on that line gently, top stitch on that line. So after top stitching on the line gently, that is what we have. If you can see that tiny line over there, it may not be so visible because it's the same color of the dress I used for the thread. So I went ahead to cut out the excess fabric that we had at the neck part. After cutting the fabric, please don't cut into your main material. After cutting it, you flip it to the right side. At this point, this bubu is almost 80% ready. You can see how fast it was. So that part I told us to iron earlier, also add a stitch at the top part. You can, as I said, you can go ahead as you're ironing, you can add your hemming gum. So just add a straight line stitch. So after we added the straight line stitch, this is what we have. This is what we have. You know, that is already coming out the way it should be. So at this point, we just went ahead and add our pockets from the beginning of the notch to the end. For this pocket, I used 8 inches, of course, because it has to rhyme with our notch, by 11 inches. You can decide to cuff one part of the pocket, but if you're cuffing one part of the pocket, make sure that when you are joining them, that cuff part is facing the same direction. I cut 4 pieces of the pocket, so I will just put my my fabric into 2 to shape the side, right? You arrange your pockets properly. as I said, you just join your pocket with 0.5 inch from the beginning of the notch to the end. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew this in by 0.75 inch or 0.5 inch. It really doesn't matter. This is a bubu design, right? So you can just use the knob. You don't need much allowance to join this. So from the shoulder point, I'm just going to go ahead and mark my 0.75 inch. So from that point, the way I'm chalking it down, I'm going to join the two sides together. Pay attention to how I join this. So when I get to the pocket area, I'm just going to go in a little bit in by 0.5 inch. Right, I went in by 0.5 inch. Then at that point, you turn your machine and sew it down to the pocket. The cuffed area, you see why I said the cuff part should match, right? Because you need to sew it down. The same thing, you come out to the side, then by the same 0.75 inch you went down by 0.75 inch. I just want to confirm and be sure. Then from there, you will now start sewing all the way down. But remember to notch where your slit starts, right? So at this point, I didn't notch where my slit starts. I just decided to close up the whole fabric because I remember my client doesn't like slits by the side of her clothes. So before you close it all down, you fold the down part 1/2 inch in and 1/2 inch in before you close it all the way down. If you are closing yours down, if yours is going to have a slit by the side, please remember to put the slit. So when we are done, this is what we have. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I will see you in my next video. Bye.